are listening to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM. It starts at 5 a.m. and it lasts all the way to 11 a.m. before the Lunch Cafe comes over and take the baton of conversations. My name is Sage Babalola. This is Trends in the Papers. That is a segment of the Morning Express where we have conversations regarding reports that have been compiled and have been reported on the front pages of our dailies. So there's many interesting conversations that awaits you on the program. Don't forget that we're social. We're live on social media. Our Facebook and our YouTube platform doubles as our streaming platform, which means that if you're unable to listen to us via the radio, you can very well join us via social media. Go to our Facebook and YouTube page, Mainland 98.3 FM, at Mainland 98.3 FM, or facebook.com/Mainland 98.3 FM. For those of you who would like to join our live stream, we're also on X at Mainland FM. Well, for Trends in the Papers, of course, aside from giving you the stories, we open reading out to you this morning. Well, Fuad Said is joining me virtually, and we're going to be having the conversations together. Good morning to you, Fuad. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good morning, Sid. How are you doing?
I'm not happy, actually. I don't like that everybody's now back on the road. I was very annoyed this morning. I was very annoyed. I was used to the fact that the road was free. I did not like the experience. I'm supposed to be used to...
That's how we do it.
That's not how we do anything, but that's not how we do it. I mean, the Easter break, during public holidays like that, you just, the peace that comes with very few people on the road, nobody is hassling your driver, nothing. And then I got on the road today and I just did not like the reality that everything was back to normal. We had multiple people on the road. It was strange, but I'm here. Well, you don't have a choice.
one of the papers is reporting that, a lot of people were still able to catch some fun.
Yes.
Yes. Today and over the weekend, that they were still able to go to, pizza,
yes,
go to the cinema. I think, of course, the cinema is now one of the places where people, of course, find a way to unwind with loved ones and family members.
I know.
But again, it was a bit quiet. This Easter celebration was relatively quiet.
Yeah.
Compared to, people have said that, well, the situation of the country is the reason why a lot of people decided to just stay at home. If they have enough money, buy fuel. But power supply was a problem too. So what they did was, instead of going out there, the little money you have, cook some good meal, buy fuel, and then power your generators for those that are able to do that. And somehow it was a bit quiet because we were on duty. We worked all through the weekend, and I didn't see the beehive of activity I'd expected from Easter celebration. But thank God for life, like always in this part of the world.
Well, thank God for life, indeed. But everybody's back to work now, so it's all good.
As expected. I've seen people complaining that the break was so fast. I've seen people complaining that
you can't tell.
Well, we can't tell because we were working.
You work weekends as well, so you don't have any idea what the holiday feels like.
Holidays are coming next week too, for the Ramadan celebration. So.
You are still working. What are you excited about? You'll still be working.
I know for those that will have the holidays, I'm just saying, if they thought the Easter break wasn't enough, so at least 2 days of break should be coming again their way next week.
Right.
So
okay.
that should help.
All right. Well, all of that was just on a lighter note. We do have our papers here with us, the Punch, the Vanguard, and the Guardian newspaper, and we're about to start Trends in the Papers proper. Please don't forget that we're live on Facebook right now, so you can join the program, facebook.com/Mainland 98.3 FM. So let's go to the Punch newspaper and begin conversations from there. We have the top story. Discos make 1 trillion naira amid grid crisis. Unmetered customers hit 5.8 million. Despite the persistent epileptic power supply nationwide, revenue generation by electricity distribution companies in Nigeria surged to 1.1 trillion naira within the 12 months of 2023, a new report has revealed. The figure represents an increase of 224.4 billion naira, or 28.2%, from the 831 billion naira generated by the power firms over a similar period in 2022. at 22. Well, an analysis of the revenue data showed that Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company got the highest revenue of 218.6 billion naira, up from 52.7 billion naira. Well, Fuad, this particular report is highlighting how, despite the fact that consumers cannot appreciate the power supply that has been delivered to them over the course of the last few months, the epileptic power supply, we still have distribution companies that are recording profit, and the margin is so wide. Right now we have omitted customers as much as 5.8 million naira. In fact, we now million people, I beg your pardon, we now have more people who are under the estimated billing system. And this broadened gap continues to benefit the discos, which is why they're recording such profit even when there's no quality of service that is commensurate with that profit. Fuad?
Well, again, because again, when I read through the story this morning, I was trying to get whether this was about revenue or profit, because again, the story is saying revenue. And for us to be very sure, or if these are translated into profit for them, we have to be able to check their income and expenditure. You have to check whether this revenue, of course, is well higher than the expenditure, that the running cost and every other thing. But again, this report is trying to highlight the fact that, look, these guys have been able to raise in good money. From the report, it's seen that the Ikeja Electric got the highest of the revenue, followed by co-electricity distribution company. So you have these two distribution companies operating in Lagos and getting the biggest share of that revenue. They're followed by Abuja and then others.
I think.
Same thing. But again, I think the most troubling part of that story is the fact that, look, you now have more Nigerians under the estimated billing system, unmetered Nigerians. We are not even talking about we are not even talking about prepaid meters now. What the report is telling us is that, look, people are not even metered at all. So what they get as bills, electricity bill every month, comes from estimated bills. That's a complete rip-off. We've complained about it severally.
Yes.
And if you now put, if it was even a sector that has been able to, sustain what you can call quality service over the years, maybe Nigerians would not be that bothered. Like, okay, well, the service is coming, but they have not been able to do the proper thing to meter Nigeria. People are not going to complain as much. But we're talking of a sector that has, for me, the most dismal performance in terms of service delivery. I'm sorry, I don't know of any other sector that has performed that poorly when it comes to service delivery than the electricity sector. And most importantly, the last chain of the entire structure, which is the distribution end, So if you ask yourself, are we going to continue like this? They are making this revenue. Like I said, we're not completely sure if it translates automatically into profit making. But should Nigerians continue to suffer from this kind of report? The service is not available. They just get bills. And that's why when these distribution companies come around saying people are owing them, the question most Nigerians keep asking them is, how are we owing you? You are not even giving us the service. Every time you just come with your own. Even up till now, nobody knows how this estimated billing is calculated. What are the factors? How do you come about some of these figures? So Nigerians are like, we don't get the service, we will not pay. So you see a lot of outs, having this humongous electricity debt on. And the reason why they are not paying is that they are not getting the service. They even feel cheated, but they can't help themselves. That's why sometimes you go on social media, you see people attacking electricity workers, taking their ladders away, some of them fighting them. I'm saying one that even brought out a cutlass. Like, Nigerians are frustrated. It's even so sad that at this time where you have this heat wave, the supply has not even come. It's even worse at this time that Nigerians are going through. So just imagine somebody who has been struggling to maybe buy fuel to fuel his own generator just to keep his family a bit okay from this heat wave we have. And then somebody brought a crazy bill at the end of the month and he's asking himself, where is the supply? Where is the service? So that's why I keep saying that. And I think a lot of Nigerians have also come to the conclusion that this model is not working. Yes, at the level of generation, we are doing poorly, but not as bad at the transmission and distribution end of the chain. Because again, you still see that, look, to a great extent, what we are generating, we are not able to transmit effectively and distribute effectively. And so you ask yourself, where do we go from here? Is this something we're going to continue? This lead service kind of thing, where we say we want to do a $1 trillion economy, and you have this level of chaos and confusion when it comes to electricity supply in the country. So I think that we need to end all of this and start something afresh. And the solution, and some of the suggestions we have given, is to unbundle this entire arrangement. Unbundling leaders have smaller units to smaller, I think the better for me. But I think the report just wants to get us thinking. That's what I got from this particular report. Think about it, understand that, look, for service delivery, people are still making money. It's a complete report.
Well, for the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has said that the epileptic power supply can be attributed to the fact that there is poor gas supply to the GENCOs. Unfortunately, the GENCOs have not gotten enough amount of gas that would help them with generating power, and it is what is generated that is transmitted.
You see, in the power sector, we have enough excuse for failure. You see that we are talking about the fact that we are owing gas suppliers, we are owing the generation companies. Then when we keep talking about that, the next thing, the transmission people say, oh, the grid has collapsed again, or we are dealing with vandalism. Then when you get to distribution, they tell you that, oh, at this level, they are not making enough revenue, people are owing them money. At every level of the power sector, there's one comfortable excuse to give for non-performance. Because again, the minister has just suddenly come out now to tell us that, look, there is a problem with gas supply. He was talking about debt, about 3 trillion debt in the last time.
Yeah.
So while he's talking about all of that, the transition people will now come out and tell you that, oh, vandals are destroying their facilities, blah, 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 and all of that. The grid is keep collapsing. And then when you leave that one, the distribution people will now tell you that, oh, people are owing them, they are not able to invest properly to replace, cables, transformers, blah, blah. It's all chaos and confusion. This is the worst arrangement I've ever seen.
Well,
and that's why I keep referring to what President Muhammadu Buhari said, that look, whatever happened with the power sector, the privatization that was done under Jonathan, was majorly on political patronage. A lot of the guys who got these licenses, they don't have any business in that sector. They have no working model, no business model, really. We just, oh, this thing is available, we jump into it because we have, that connection to the powers that be. And here we are now, look at what we have gotten. And I always say that, look, check what is happening in the power sector to the telecom sector. Because these are two sectors that have been privatized. Look at how the telecom sector have been able to continue to push on, and if to a great extent ensure some quality delivery when it comes to services to their customers. Pitch that against the power sector and you see what I'm talking about.
All right. Well, the report is also highlighting that we might see an increase in electricity tariff as well, as the federal government has increased the price of gas by about 11% from about $2.42 per million British thermal unit, higher than the previous rate of 2.18 metric million British thermal unit. So basically 11%, let's just make that simple, but the price has gone up by 11%. And of course, these companies would have to find a way to make more money. So it's possible that we start to pay more for power.
So nobody is talking about quality service delivery, effective service delivery, consistent service delivery. It's just about revenue making. It's just about increasing tax. There's this inconsistent call that somehow we have to continue to pay more. I think people in the position of authority, as far as the power sector is concerned, still considers that or believes that Nigerians are not paying enough when it comes to electricity. And so it's always a way around it to let's just ensure that more is paid. But again, what are the assurances that these Nigerians now pay more? We're going to get effective service delivery, quality service delivery. Is there any guarantee to it that the more Nigerians pay, the better service will be when it comes to electricity? I doubt it. We are still going to continue. It's one of those things you look at and you need to ask yourself, why is it that we can't get things right in this country? Why is it that simple things that other people are doing properly comes to Nigeria and just becomes a problem?
All right. Well, more information on the front page of the Punch. You can get details on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. So moving on to other stories we have here. Next sits over state police as governors plan forest guard. We have here on the front page of the okay, we have the story in details. I apologize. That particular story. I'm using the version. Okay, we have here the National Economic Council will reconvene later this month as more state governments have submitted their report on the establishment of state police, the Punch has learned. This came to the fore on Monday as our correspondents reported that no fewer than 10 states had begun the process of deploying forest guards to protect farmers and flush out bandits. At President Bola Tinubu's meeting with the governors last February, the federal government and states agreed to recruit forest rangers and invest in more training to keep the forest and borders safe. This is according to the Information Minister Mohammed Idris when he briefed State House correspondent after the meeting. So, Fuad, at least more than 10 states have submitted their report regarding the whole state police arrangement, and also there's still meetings and consultation going on regarding the need to review the constitution to accommodate this new arrangement. But pending the time that the state policing arrangement is established, we have governors who have now decided to deploy the use of forest guards so that farmers are able to go back to their farm and we're able to fix, in a way, or minimize the food crisis that is currently ravaging the country. What are your thoughts, Fuad?
Whatever can be done to ensure our farmers return to the farm so that they can produce food for the country is welcome. It's a welcome idea. And we continue to encourage that kind of idea. But again, look at the governor of Zamfara recently. You know, I think it was about a month or two ago that he launched something like his own state security network. It was all over the TV. About 2,000 men were recruited as part of efforts to fight insecurity in Zamfara state. You know, there was this uniform, the parade was on TV and all of that. But recently, the same governor is in the papers complaining and calling on the president to help us with the issue of banditry and you know, the issue of kidnapping in his state. So I think that, look, whatever we're doing with this issue of forest rangers, maybe to some extent will help, but that's not really the solution. The solution is that we need to look at our internal security mechanisms and make it work. I'm not going to limit it to policing now. Every other thing has to ensure we are able to secure ourselves. Because again, we keep talking about internal security, and the only you know, part of it that we talk about is police. A lot of these bandits, a lot of these criminals too, also have issues. Are also able to do whatever they are doing because of the proliferation of small arms and weapons. You understand? So that also calls to question the effectiveness of people in our border posts. And I'm talking about the customs now. You understand what I'm saying? The customs, the immigration, and every other person is supposed to ensure that these things don't just come into the country. How effective are they? Or how complicit are they? Or ineffective are they too? And because these bandits don't just operate with machetes and sticks, they operate with some kinds of weapons that you wonder how did these things get into the country. So that's why I'm saying that it has to be a holistic approach too when we're talking about internal security problems in the country. Yes, you need to look at the policing structure. The conversations of state police is on the right path. We need to look at how to ensure that at least at the state level we have some structure when it comes to policing. But beyond police, you also have to look at you know, our borders, how porous are our borders, how to ensure that our border security becomes more effective. So that some of these weapons don't just come in like that. Because again, we have some level of porosity that should worry anybody when it comes to how we secure our borders. So forest rangers, you know, those are the usual allotments, and I'm sure they are not going to be able to carry these sophisticated weapons. Most likely they will be all these double barrels. Sometimes some of them will even carry day guns. But we're talking of bandits who have AK-47, who have, you know, these assault rifles and all of that. How would forest rangers be able to confront those kinds of people? If you understand what I'm saying. So whatever forest rangers are able to do, fine. But I think that at the end of the day, it has to be a bigger approach, really, and a more effective approach to solving this problem. It can't be forest rangers, really.
All right. Well, I guess the conversation on the state police will really see after the meeting. And I know that arrangements have been made to, in a way, try to control how much power the governors are going to have over the state police as if it is established and they devolve power.
There are about 3 levels of problem. with running a state policing structure in the country. The first one is what you just highlighted. The fact that, look, the behavior, the character, and attitude of our politicians should make anybody begin to should make us a bit cautious about just jumping into the state policing arrangement. Because whether we like it or not, our people are not so well paid when it comes to application of power and the responsibilities that come with it. So that was one level of the problem. The other one is financing. See, you will not create a state police that is the only salary. Because you're going to now create a bigger problem. You have a state policing structure and then you begin to owe them salaries. You can't exclude them properly. And then become same of the same. And then we'll trouble again. And then we need to talk about the operational model. Is it going to be the same old way of doing things? Or we're going to see improved tactics, improved strategy, deployment of technology, high-level capacity intelligence gathering? It should just be the same thing that we have known of the federal police that will now translate into what we are going to be doing at the state level. So at that 3 level, we need to be a bit cautious and be sure of what we are getting into before we try to solve a problem and create a bigger problem.
All right, more information on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. For those of you who are just joining the program, you are on to the Morning Express on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. The segment of the Morning Express that you're listening to is called Trends in the Papers. We're looking at our dailies, reviewing the stories on the front pages, and we're currently looking at the Punch newspaper. Please remember that we're social, which means that we're actually streaming this particular program live on Facebook and on YouTube. So do well to check us out on Facebook right this very moment, so you can be a part of the show at mainland 98.3 FM or facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM. You can very well take advantage of the live chat option available on our streaming platform to drop your submission, I beg your pardon, as we go through these stories. So when it's time for us to take contributions, we refer back to the messages that you have dropped and we read them live on air. Moving forward, we have on page 8 of the Punch newspaper, Tinubu, African leaders grace Senegal president swearing in today. President Bola Tinubu will depart Abuja today for Dakar, Senegal, to attend the inauguration of Senegal's president-elect Bassirou Faye. The presidency revealed this in a statement signed by Tinubu's special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngalale, titled President Tinubu to attend the inauguration of Senegal's president-elect Bassirou Faye. So, the president is going to take a trip to grace the swearing in or the inauguration of the youngest president of Senegal. Or, well, he's still the president-elect. I don't think he has been inaugurated. 44 years old Bassirou Faye, which makes sense, of course. He is, of course, the chairman of ECOWAS. So, and Senegal is a member of ECOWAS. So, it's expected he makes that trip, right?
He would have to make the trip. Again, it's close to home for him, and of course, it's just normal that the president of Nigeria also takes part in something that has become something that has brought some pride for Africa and West Africa particularly. The fact that Senegal was able to wade through the shenanigans of Macky, who are trying to disrupt the electoral process by trying to postpone it, making some empty excuses. But at the end of the day, the people of Senegal stood firm and insisted that the right thing must be done. The elections must go on. The opposition camp was threatened, was intimidated, that a lot happened. But eventually, the Senegalese have been able to produce what has become what I can call one of the prides of Africa by producing Faye, who is a 44-year-old young, bright, Senegalese who is going to become, I think, the youngest African ever to become president. Democratically elected now, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think in the past, we've had military incursions who had to produce younger people. I think maybe Yakubu Gowon became president at the age of the head of state. I think at the age of 37 or so.
Oh, wow.
So we're talking of a democratically elected president now in Africa. This is a continent where we have a problem with six-side leaders. They just don't want to lead. A lot of our leaders are there. Some of them are even beginning to lose it mentally, and they just want to remain there. I was watching the videos of Yᴏᴜᴛᴜબ્ᴇ of Uganda, and I just shook my head.
Museveni. That was the first person I came to mind.
An interesting, and then we have an interesting Paul Biya in Cameroon too.
Yeah.
We just there I'm sorry, passing around, doing nothing.
Kagame as well.
Oh, Kagame is just, Kagame is not too old.
But he's okay. Well, he's okay. He has been there for long. He's okay.
He's been there. But some people say he's a dictator, but it's not the kind of dictator we're talking about. But the reality is that, look, he's also suppressing the voice of opposition in that country.
Right.
So, but the question is, as we go there, as our president goes to Senegal to celebrate these achievements there, what are we going to learn from Senegal? You know, that's also a country that has ever witnessed military incursion into their governance. There has never been any military coup in Senegal in their history since gaining independence. And so we should ask ourselves, towards 2027, what are the lessons to pick from Senegal? It's not about being the giant of Africa. When it comes to democracy, I think the giant of West Africa and Africa is actually the Senegal. The fact that they have been able to coordinate themselves and govern themselves in this manner. So what lessons are we learning? What are the things to also look at in our own electoral process to ensure that the vote of the people count eventually when elections are conducted? So congratulations to Senegal. Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, I was going to say, aside from that, how do I say this now? The selflessness of what's this man who was initially supposed to be the one? The selflessness that, okay, I have legal issues, I might as well just allow somebody else, take my place.
Take it from me.
Yes, that's another.
Soko was the favored opposition candidate to win the election, and then the ruling party connivance with some people in the judiciary. Had gotten court injunctions to stop it, criminal charges and all of that. And so what he did was that, look, if I can't get it, let someone else get it. And so what he did was to just prop up the younger person. And at the campaign, he was even telling them that, look, whatever you see, the qualities you see in me, this young man has better quality. Vote for him. And the Senegalese got the message and voted for the young man, 44-year-old. So that's what I'm saying. What are the lessons we're going to learn from it? The political class in Nigeria, can they just look at the Senegalese model and begin to pick lessons from it?
Well, page 8 of the Punch newspaper has the entire story. Moving forward, page 24 says OPEC oil output plunges as Nigeria, Iraq/export. We have here the reduced crude oil exports by Nigeria and Iraq in March caused a plunge in oil output by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries last month. A survey by Reuters on Monday showed that OPEC pumped less crude in March, reflecting lower export from Iraq and Nigeria, against the backdrop of ongoing voluntary supply cut by some members agreed upon by the wider OPEC Plus alliance. This came as industry data also showed that the cost of Brent, the global benchmark for crude, increased to $87.92 per barrel around 6 p.m. Nigerian time. So Iraq last month promised to lower exports to make up for pumping above its OPEC target, a pledge that would cut shipment by 130,000 barrels per day from February. So Fuad, the reduction in the oil output was actually deliberate. Of course, they do that sometimes to control the prices. Now, Iraq decided to cut down the exportation because they apparently produce more than their OPEC quota, and so to make up for the excess that they produce, they have decided to cut back on their exports. Nigeria as well cut back. Well, did we cut back? We're not able to meet up our own.
We could not just produce enough.
You now have the capacity to do such. You have the capacity to do such. So it's not as if we had a choice, really.
It was just our own failure to what we could have. Well, again, some of these things ordinarily should translate into some positives for Nigeria. We are not able to produce enough, but again, when the Brent goes up, one would think that as an oil-producing nation, it should be more money for the country. But unfortunately, the reason why it doesn't translate automatically into good money for the country is still the fact that we're not being able to refine locally. You understand? Because at the end of the day, whatever we're able to make from the sale of crude, we still have to channel into importation of refined fuel. You understand? So anytime we talk about increasing prices of crude in the global market, Nigerians don't celebrate automatically. Because again, we're a country that has not been able to solve our problems when it comes to functional refinery. So not only should translate into good money for us. I keep saying that, look, whether we like it or not, we should continue to rub shoulders. We should ordinarily rub shoulders with countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and some other oil-producing nations who make good money from the sale of crude. who are also able to refine products in their different countries, retain for local consumption, and also export to make good forex. That should be the working model for us as a country. But unfortunately, misgovernance, lack of capacity, corruption, inefficiency has led us to where we are now. We are still importing refined petroleum products as we speak, an oil producing nation. From diesel to jet A1 to petrol and every other product that comes from petroleum, we are still importing. I'm still waiting to see the announcement from Dangote Refinery that products are not being listed out of that facility. So I'm also anxiously waiting for Port Harcourt Refinery to work in April. We're in April already. Maybe promised us April. So we're keeping notes and waiting for it to happen.
Is this April 2nd? There's many days.
We not. The man didn't give a date. So he said April. So is it wrong for me to remind him that we are in April and we are waiting?
Even though. Let's wait. Still
okay, I did not talk about.
Don't put pressure on him, please. Don't put pressure.
Okay. Or should we wait in December?
No, they said April. So it's the last day in April. We are not going to put pressure on them. Please, they are working very hard.
Okay, so I should wait till the end of April.
Do you want their hearts to be racing? Let them focus and do the job. So don't put pressure.
But what's happening to Dangote Refinery? You may have some insider information.
Why are you doing this to me? Do you want people to be calling me?
Apollo been listed already from that facility?
Not yet. Apparently, unfortunately, not.
So when did you commission that facility?
That was last year. What month was that? Initially, it was supposed to be in August.
That was me. Why you commissioned that refinery?
No, product was supposed to start coming out in August. Last year, and then they moved because they didn't have enough supply of crude.
Okay.
So
by next month, it will be 1 year that we commission that facility.
Even do. Let's wait.
I just want those things to work really for the sake of Nigeria. You know, we have investment in that refinery.
But then we've had conversations that the fact that even if Dangote starts reeling out products, it does not necessarily translate to a reduction in the price of PMS or.
Let us even have the product first. I know. But let's even start from getting the product out of our facility first. Okay. Whether we like it or not, people can say it's privately owned, but we put our dollars there for him.
Well,
to build that refinery.
Did not give you your money back. Did not give you your money back. I did not give you your money back.
We still have to query that though. How a refinery that did not work, and then the person that collected the money paid back even before the deal started working. And mind you, apart from that, the one that came from the CBN, the NNPCL also put $2.5 billion into that facility.
Yeah.
So as a Nigerian, we should be bothered. What's the result of our investment into that facility?
He will produce.
It's all quiet. It's too quiet for comfort. We need to know what's going on. Almost a year down the line. Well, products still listed from that facility.
They did say they were going to begin with diesel. Actually, it was diesel. It's not even PMS. That's not the focus right now.
I think where is diesel? Even in diesel, let's even get the diesel.
I don't know.
Okay.
This is on page 24. Of the Punch newspaper. That's where you get that particular story. Now let's double back to page 3, talk a little politics. We have here presidential nod. Ondo APC governorship aspirant besiege Abuja for Tinubu's endorsement. As political parties in Ondo. Fine, maybe you will even allow me to tell you what is first.
The man is going to Senegal. Hope they will not follow him to Senegal.
As political parties in Ondo State prepare for the governorship primaries in the next few days, politicians are gearing up for free and fair primaries that will bring about popular candidate for the November governorship election. It's a thing of note that the Independent National Electoral Commission had fixed this month for all political parties in the state to conduct their primaries. The commission also scheduled November 16 this year for the governorship poll. We have, according to some of the parties that have been included, All Progressives Congress, they give a list of all the parties that are going to be involved in the off-cycle elections, and also a lot of these candidates are approaching, they want to go to Abuja to ask for the president's blessing as they proceed into the off-cycle elections. We had a conversation about this, yesterday, which was a very interesting conversation with all of the controversies that are trailing political parties as we gear up for the cycle election. Do you want to comment on all of this first?
The funny thing about this election is that people are not even just waiting for and looking for the endorsement of the president. They are also hoping to get the endorsement of the late academic. Have you not been reading the story? Everybody is laying claim to the fact that Tʀᴇɪᴜ endorsed him or her before he died. So don't be surprised that you see some of our politicians who will now go to where he was buried and begin to take pictures and say, look, I'm the anointed carrier of this man. They will not even allow the man rest.
I had a dream. Or he
laid his hand on my head.
I'm the choosing one.
Or what you will see is that some of them imprinting their posters, they will now put the picture of Tʀᴇɪᴜ close to their as part of the poster.
God, I beg.
So you are doubting what I'm saying?
I don't doubt you.
Because they know that the election is not really about the people. These are guys that should be busy going around the state convincing people, talking to electorate. They are now in Abuja hoping that the president will now say this is the anointed card. Is it about the president or the people of Ondo State? But they understand the workings of our electoral process. That indeed, it's not necessarily about the people. That the final say may not eventually be about the will of the people of Ondo State, but from power brokers. So at the end of that's why we keep saying that I'm saying that look, if I'm a politician at this time, whether I'm in opposition, I will continue to talk about the need to reform our electoral process to ensure that at the end of the day, ballots are cast on election day that reflects the will of the people. Because you look at the entire thing, it's all charade, it's all messed up. The man is going to Senegal, maybe they'll follow him there.
Well, Fuad, the report is saying that the body language of the president is unclear to anyone, and many of the aspirants are frequenting Abuja to lobby.
Why are they worried about the body language of the president?
Well, it's also saying here that many of the aspirants that are considered weak are now supporting the ones that are strong and might not pick up the nomination form because they don't understand the body language of the president. So nobody really knows what the president or whom the president is going to endorse, and so they're just trying to curry favor.
Wait now. This is Ondo State election. It's not the presidential election.
Yes.
And so these candidates or these aspirants, shouldn't they be more bothered or worried about what the Ondo people want than what the body language of the president is? Yes, at party politics level, of those things would eventually happen. But I'm saying that at the end of the day, it should be more about what the people of Ondo State want in their leadership. Not necessarily the body language of the president.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you this many times, but I just really want us to, reference what is being said in the report. Well, in the same vein, and I'm reading the report now, many of the party bigwigs in the state were reportedly confused about whom to support among the aspirants. They are waiting for the body language of Mr. President to know whom to declare their support for. This is affirming your thoughts for it.
It's just about the president now, not about the people of Ondo State or capacity. So if the president, for example, out of maybe not a complete understanding, because again, I imagine our politicians, what kind of thinking do they have about the president? This is a man, for example, who is inundated with the issue of insecurity. The forest crisis is still there. I'm sure he gets a daily briefing on how the economy is performing. I'm sure the service chiefs are also talking to him. The national security advisor is on the table every now and then trying to brief him on how the country is faring, and then the issue of insecurity. And then the people of Ondo State, the politicians cannot sort themselves out. They still have to wait for this president. You can see the kind of quasi-confused democracy we are practicing. They cannot, in their own state now, at party level, sort themselves out and say, okay, this is how we want the primaries to go. Give everybody that opportunity to contest if they are interested. So they are all waiting to see the body language of the president. So if, for example, the president now decides to support someone that does not have the capacity, they will support the president because the president has supported the president.
Apparently.
Very unfortunate. And that's why we are where we are today.
Well,
that's why nothing gets done.
That is on page 3 of the Punch newspaper. I'm just going to read this one here. Police go after hoodlums for raiding night bus, robbing passengers. I saw this story yesterday.
Very close to us here in Ogun State.
Ogun State. Not only did they rob these individuals,
we're going to kill them alive, burn them alive.
They locked them inside the bus and set it on fire. The passengers had to break the windows to jump out of the bus before it was engulfed in the flames. I don't understand. Why do you rob people and try to kill them like that?
Sage, I'm even saying that, look, some of these are the stories we hear far away, the northern part of the country. They are saying bandits robbed. I think it belongs to one of these popular luxury books.
I've been scouting for the name or scanning.
I think it's Fᴜӷᴜ or something. I think I got the name this morning. And then they've confirmed that it happened to their boss. They robbed all of those people. Some of them were stripped half naked. And then they now lock them in the bus and set it on fire. That's to tell you, when we talk about insecurity and the need for government to focus, this is exactly what we're talking about. Just somewhere in Ijebu here. So what's on it?
Ijebu-Mushin area of the state.
Of the state. That happened there. I think the bus was going to Ebonyi. And I picked it up from Maza, and that happened. So a president that should be getting briefings on things like this, because again, he now points to the level of insecurity in the country. It could have been anybody, say. Because again, we read these stories and think it's just a normal thing, we just lost right and we move on. This is getting close to home than anybody can even ever imagine. Those passengers were just lucky, say. Because again, you need to ask yourself, what was the intention of these so-called bandits? Because they were reported as bandits, too. Not just armed robbers. The report put them as bandits. You rob people and then decide to lock them in the bus, and set the bus on fire. What kind of barbarism is that? But that again shows the level of insecurity because it's scary. And then why the president is supposed to be on top of situations like that as the chief security officer of the country, and then the governors are supposed to also be concentrating on things like that. Some people who are going to contest on those states are waiting for the body language of the president. You can see that it's all muddled up.
It's very unfortunate. I still cannot wrap my mind around the fact that you have robbed these people. There was no resistance. They willingly gave you their properties, but you felt the need to take it a step further and lock them and set the bus on fire. To what end? There are no limitations to the dastardly acts that can come from criminals. A criminal is a criminal, and the extent they can go to perpetrate their crime, you don't enter. You see, a criminal is a criminal. Don't underestimate what they can do, because at that time you don't even know what's going on in their mind. Some of them are on drugs. You understand what I'm saying? Some of them are on drugs. Some of them are taking substances. I'm sure they are not even seeing human beings. Maybe they are seeing chicken. So you don't underestimate what criminals can do. Actually, it could be very crazy. It's very, very unfortunate.
But again, we need to ask ourselves, what do we do about the level of insecurity, this widespread insecurity in the country? Something has to happen. We can't continue like this.
Well,
and then you have one of the special advisors of the president recently still saying that insecurity has improved. Security has improved, comparing us to US, comparing us to South Africa. Mr. Bayo Onanuga should please just calm down and be more responsible with his public statements, and because the man is getting, some of us respect him because he used to be our guy in the days of guerrilla journalism. But his recent comments continue to make some of us wonder, because you are now in power, you have become so far from the truth, you are so distant from the reality of Nigeria. Is it just about what you want to eat? Is that what life is all about? Because that's a data.
Very, very unfortunate. Fuad, page 5 of the Punch newspaper has the details of that particular story. As a matter of fact, it's reported in every single newspaper that we have today. Well, we're going to move very briefly to the Vanguard newspaper. There's the story here: withheld salaries, we will shut down universities. Non-teaching staff. Well, Lagos non-teaching staff in the nation's public universities are set for an indefinite industrial action following the non-payment of their withheld salaries. Fuad, I don't know if you remember, SANU, NASU, and even NAT as well, they went on a warning strike, 7 days, and they stopped the strike or suspended it to have conversations with the federal government. But we can clearly see by this report that they were not able to reach a compromise or a middle ground, and now they are threatening an indefinite industrial action, which means that we might see our students staying at home for God knows how long.
It's unfortunate stage. I thought that these disruptions we saw during the Buhari era, where public university students have to stay at home for almost 9 months, will not have any disruptions. At least I thought that the Bola Tinubu administration was going to find a way to ensure that disruption never happened again, not even for just 2 weeks or even a month. So that, because again, there are students who are supposed to run a 4-year course. Some of them 6 years down the line, they are still in the university. And then for you to now have another round of it, because again, when the non-academic staff shut down, look, it's not just about the academic staff.
And the administrative duties are like, who would do the administrative duties?
Because the university does not run only on academic structure. The non-academic structure is also an integral part of the university system. The offices are closed. In fact, some of them would ensure that even lecturers don't get into their office. Like that, they lock some places. And then how would students process payments, get receipts, and a whole lot of things? The bursary department, so many things goes on at the non-academic level when as far as the university is concerned. So it's just really an appeal again. Because again, what are we going to do now? What are we going to say? It's just to appeal to the authorities to do the right thing, sort these guys out, so that we don't have another round of disruption in public university in the country.
All right, well, I'll just read through the rest of the headlines as we are out of time. Banks need 4.7 trillion naira to scale CBN's new capital hurdle. No bank qualifies under new guidelines. ETI, Zenith Access First Bank lead in eligible capital. 7 qualify by adding retained earnings. No need to panic, says ACAMB. We have here Labour Party crisis. Abure rejected Peter Obi's advice for all-inclusive convention.
Abure is now like Netanyahu, that even a Biden cannot talk to him again. So Abure that used to be, that rose on the wings of Mr. Peter Obi to fight all his battles. He doesn't listen to Peter Obi. That's how power, absolute power corrupts. I think the man now thinks he's in charge of that party, and nothing can happen to him.
Well, police confirm robbers rob and set ablaze passenger bus in Ogun State. Edo Guba, chairman group bicker over Accord Party's candidate. Vice President Shetima, CBN Governor Cardoso, Ayo Teriba, headline 2024 Vanguard Economic Summit. That's it for Vanguard. And for New Telegraph, finally, we have renewed hope. Anti-corruption fight will spare no one, says EFCC chair. We also have Tinubu leaves for Senegal to attend Faye's inauguration as president. Concerns over Nigeria's 97.34 trillion naira debt stock intensify. Troops neutralize several terrorists in Northwest, says the army. Disquiet universities over absence of governing council. And we have here PDP to 27 Rivers lawmaker plots to impeach Fubara dead on arrival. Federal government fuel subsidy reform, major cause of core inflation in Nigeria. This is more or less an editorial. And we have gunmen abduct students along East-West Road. These are all the headlines that we have for you today on Trends in the Papers. We're going to go on a commercial break, be back at 8:40 a.m. for Mainland Focus, where we would pick 2 major stories and broaden conversation around selected stories. Fuad, thank you so much for your analysis.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we'll be back by 8:40, like I said before. Don't forget, you are onto the sound of Lagos, Mainland 98.3 FM.
So, babes, don't you think the radio is so boring these days?
Well, it depends on what you need. I just discovered a new sound. Making you fall like